Hello everyone. In this video, I am going to discuss the short story "The Hoop," written by Fyodor Sologub. Now, Fyodor Sologub is a Russian author, dramatist, essayist, and poet, and he has written this short story. And this hoop, as the title, the hoop means the ring of metal that children use that to play. You all must have in your childhood must have used you must have played with it. At least if you haven't played it, at least you must be aware that this kind of ring of metal is used by the children to play. So this story revolves around the hoop, and the hoop is just um, is used to discuss about the childhood, uh, the unfulfilled wishes, and and the other things that are associated with childhood are discussed in this short story. Now, before going further, let's discuss about the author. Fyodor Kuchmich Sologub, born in 1863 and he died in 1927, is a prolific Russian author, dramatist, essayist, and poet of the symbologist movement. His undoubted masterpiece being The Petty Demon, published in 1907. Fyodor Kuchmich Teternikov was born on 17 February 1863 in St. Petersburg, Russia. He was later to adopt the pseudonym Sologub. In 1882, after training at the St. Petersburg's Training Institute, Sologub was appointed teacher at Nervaskov Municipal School and began his career mainly teaching math with the Russian Ministry of Public Education. A significant date for Sologub was the 20th January 1884, when his poem Fox and Hedgehog was published in the magazine Vesna, his first literary success. Much of his ensuing poetry dealt laconically with morbid themes and death in a beautifully simplistic way, unencumbered by heavy metaphor. Now, this is the brief introduction about the author. Now, let's discuss in detail. Now, on the screen, you're seeing the hoop. You're also seeing the picture of Fyodor Sologub. Now, Sologub was born in 1863 and he died in 1927. He was from Russia. Russia has produced many great writers like Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Alexander Pushkin, Maxim Gorky. Now, these are some of the famous names. I think you all must have at least heard these names. If you haven't read it, at least you must have heard these names. And Fyodor Sologub is also a Russian writer. He was a dramatist, essayist, and also poet of symbolist movement. Symbolist movement was a movement which took place in 19th. Symbolist movement took place during the late 19th century, and the poets of this movement favored dreams, visions, and associative powers of imagination in their poetry. Now, this movement was a rebel against the naturalism and realist movement that was taking place before this one. And Sologub actually belongs to this school of poetry, that is symbolist poetry. His earlier name was Fyodor Kuzmich Teternikov. That was his original name, and he was born on 17 February 1863 in a place called St. Petersburg in Russia. And later he adopted the pseudonym Sologub. So Sologub is not his real name, but he later adopted this name. In 1882, after training at St. Petersburg's Teachers Training Institute, Sologub was appointed as teacher of a municipal school known as Narviskoven School, and he began his career by teaching maths. And this school was associated with the Russian Ministry of Public Education, but he did not achieve. He was not a. He had not achieved any success when he started working there. It was only in 1884. In 1884, on 20th January, his first literary success came in the form of his poem Fox and Hedgehog, which was published in a magazine called Vesna. Now, this was his first literary success. Um, he has written about many things, but his poetry mainly deals with morbid themes like death, um, morbid themes, something which is associated with death. And he uses his poetry uses very simple language. It is not filled with heavy metaphors. Now, that is his style of writing. Now, his masterpiece is The Petit Daman. It was published in 1907. Now, this is the brief introduction. Now, let's go to the brainstorming questions. Now, these are the three questions you have to keep in mind while reading this story. Do you feel like going back to childhood and playing with toys? Is the first question. Second question is, do you think everyone had unfulfilled wishes? Third one is, are dreams a way to fulfill our wishes? Discuss. The first one, do you like to feel like going back to childhood and playing with toys? Everybody loves their childhood, right? The memories of the childhood is one treasure that we keep on we keep it in our mind throughout our life. In fact, we keep on visiting these memories throughout our life, and everybody will be having these very precious memories from their childhood. So everybody would love to go back to their childhood and play with toys. I hope you also do the same. You also want to do the same. Do you think everybody has unfulfilled wishes? Yes, because there is no end to human wishes. Because we all have unfulfilled wishes. Not every wish will be fulfilled in anybody's lifetime. So everybody will have unfulfilled wishes. Are dreams a way to fulfill our wishes? Discuss. Yes, yes, dreams are certainly a way to fulfill our wishes. What happens is, in reality, we will not our every wish will turn into reality. We will not be able to do that. But because there will be a lot of constraints, or maybe our limitations, maybe some external factors. So there might be many reasons why our wishes will not be fulfilled. But in dreams, you can dream about anything. You are free to do. Nobody can have control. You can let your imagination run wild, and you can do anything. So at least, if your wish is not going to turn into reality in real life, at least you can dream about it, and you can live your wish, at least in your dream. So all these questions are very pertinent questions, and they all are very important. Keep all these questions in mind. Now, these are the things which we all, the questions which are there, we all can definitely associate with them. And definitely this story is it relates to this story as well, and we will see how this is related. Now let's begin with the story. A woman was taking her morning stride in a lonely suburban street. A boy of 4 was with her. She was young and smart, and she was smiling brightly. She was casting affectionate glances at her son, whose red cheeks beamed with happiness. The boy was bowling a hoop, a large, new, bright yellow hoop. He ran after his hoop awkwardly, laughed uproariously with joy, thrust forward his plump little legs, bare at knee, and flourished his stick. He did not have raised he need not have raised his stick so high above his head. But what of what? What happiness! He had never had a hoop before. How briskly it made him run! Now, the story begins with a woman is actually taking a stroll in the morning. Stroll is a walk. She's walking uh, in a street, in a lonely, suburban street. There are no not many. There are not many people walking on the street. There is only this woman, and this woman, along with this woman, is a boy. The age of the boy is 4. The young woman is described as young and smart, and she's smiling, and she also is looking around very affection. She is looking at her son in a affectionate way, in a very affectionate way. She is looking at her son, and this son has red cheeks, and he is very happy. Now, the reason the child is very happy is the child is playing with a hoop, and this hoop is a very large one. It's a new, and its color is a bright yellow. The boy, you must have seen, children playing. In fact, you must have played with the hoop when you were a child. So you can just go back to your memory lane and imagine what the scene is. Um, the child was actually playing, he was playing with the hoop around. He was laughing very, he was walking, he had plump legs, and his knee was visible. He took the stick and he started playing around, and the child was so happy, as if uh, he did not have hope before, and now he is having it, and he is briskly running behind this hoop, and he is playing with it. And nothing of this had existed for him before. Everything was new to him: the streets in early morning, the merry sun, and the distant din of the city. Everything was new to the boy, and joyous and pure. And the boy was playing so happily. Everything was new to him. Now look at this. The age of the child is 4. So this is a very young child. And the one thing that is associated with children is their innocence. No, when children are small, their minds will not be corrupted, because when we start getting older, our minds become corrupted. We become cunning, all kinds of bad things, uh, hap- will be in us, that will come out. But in child, innocence will be there. So when the child smiles, it will be very pure. So uh, the child is so happy. Everything, the street in the early morning, the sun. There is a distant din. Din means noise. The noise of the city is in the distance. You can hear the noise of the city, and the child is so happy. Everything for me is joyous, means very full of happy. Joyous means full of happiness, and everything is pure for this child. Now, the second part of the story. A shabbily dressed old man with coarse hands stood out at the street crossing. He pressed close to the wall to let the woman and the boy pass. The old man looked at the boy with dull eyes and smiled stupidly. Confused, sluggish thoughts struggled within his almost bald head. Now, in the second part of the story, uh, a new character is introduced. The new character is an old man. Now, this old man is not a very rich man, because we can know by his dress. He is very shabbily dressed. Uh, his uh, his hands are very rough, and he's crossing the street. And he actually, when the woman and boy pass next to him, he presses himself to the wall so that he can make way for the young mother and the boy. And the old man looks at this boy. The eyes of the old man are very dull. We don't know what exactly is. Maybe he is very unhappy. Maybe he doesn't see much life outside. Maybe he is very unhappy. That is the reason his eyes are very dull. And he looks at this child and he smiles stupidly. He is confused. He has sluggish thoughts. Sluggish thoughts struggled within his almost bald head. Now the moment he sees the child, he's confused, and there are some inactive thoughts uh, in his um, in his head, and his head he is a his head is bald. So the old man is looking at the child and he's wondering. A little gentleman, said he to himself, quite a small fellow, and simply bursting with joy. Just look at him cutting his paces. Now, when he looks at this boy, he becomes the, the thoughts, come to many thoughts come to his mind, and he says to himself, oh, he calls the child as a little gentleman, a small fellow, and who is so happy, playing with the hoop, and he's running around, and that sight makes the old man uh, think about himself. He becomes very happy. He could not quite understand it. Somehow it seemed strange to him. Here was a child, a thing to be pulled about by the hair. Play is mischief. Children are, as everyone knows, are mischief makers. Now he could not understand the things, the thoughts that were going on his mind, and something he found something very strange. He was looking the child, and we all know, no, child children are mischief makers. He is looking at the child, and he is wondering. And there was a mother. She uttered no reproach, she made no fuss, she did not scold, she was smart and bright. It was quite easy to see that they were used to warmth and comfort. Now in this paragraph, we get the description of how the mother is reacting to how to the child playing. Now, usually, what happens is some mothers, the moment a child goes from one place to another, they start scolding. They start giving instructions. They don't let the child to play. They will be very very, maybe as a measure of precautions, they will ask child not to play in a certain way or not to go. But this mother of the child did not was not scolding him. Reapproach means scolding. There was no scolding. She did not make any fuss. And the child, she let the child to play around. She is described as smart and bright. And the child and the mother shared a very, a comfortable and warm relationship. On the other hand, when he, the old man, was boy, he lived a dog's life. There was nothing particularly rosy in his life, even now, though, to be sure, he was no longer thrashed and he had plenty to eat. He recalled his younger days, their hunger, their cold, their drubbings. He had never had fun with a hoop or other playthings of well to do folks. Thus passed all his life in poverty, in care, in misery, and he could recall nothing, not a single joy. Now, why the old man is wondering? Because old man is very happy to see the kind of relationship with the mother and the child uh, uh, have. They have very warm and comfortable relationship. The mother is not scolding the child, and the child is let free to play. So this sight, makes him think about his own childhood. The boy, as a boy, um, the old man did not have a good life. He describes it as a dog's life. And even now, the life of the old man is not very good, but it's much better because when he was a child, he was thrashed is he was beaten. Now he has plenty to eat, but back then when he's during his childhood, he did not have much to eat. His childhood was nothing but filled with hunger, cold, drubbings means beatings. Never got a chance to play with the hoop or any other playthings which rich people get to play with. So all his life was filled with poverty. He was in care with he was scared by some others, and he had led his life in misery. And when he his look back at his memory lane during his childhood, he could not recall one single happy moment. Now, see, we all treasure childhood, but some some people will be very unlucky, and they will not be having a normal, regular childhood. Now, old man is one such person. He did not have a very good childhood, and he has missed the childhood. Now, when he looks at this mother and child, he, he 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 remembers it and he becomes very emotional. He smiled with his toothless mouth at the boy, and he envied him. He reflected, what a silly sport! But envy tormented him. Now this is an old man, he has lost his tooth. But when he looks at the child, because this child is enjoying a childhood which the old man has not enjoyed. That actually causes he becomes jealous of the boy. He says, what a silly sport that this child is playing with the hoop, and the envy, the jealousy actually starts hurting him. He went to work to the factory where he had worked from childhood, where he had grown old, and all the day he thought of the boy. It was a fixed, deep rooted thought. He simply could not get the boy out of his mind. He saw him running, laughing, stamping his feet, bowling the hoop. What plump little legs he had, bared at knee. Now, the old man leaves the place where the mother and the child were playing, because he had to work, he had to go to the factory where he had worked from the childhood, where he had grown old. But he could not take out the image of this boy, and throughout the day he kept thinking about this little boy, and it became fixed. It became a deep rooted thought in his mind. And he was imagining, he was remembering how the boy was running, laughing, stamping his feet, and how he was playing with the hoop. And he remembered the legs of this child, how the bare knees. So that image of the boy uh, started haunting him. It continuously, he could not take out that image from his mind. All the day, amid the din of the factory wheels, the boy with the hoop appeared to him, and at night he saw the boy in a dream. So all the day, even when there was so much disturbance, because in the factories there will be a lot of noise, uh, the boy constantly, the image and the whatever he had seen, the boy playing, that kept on coming to his mind. And even at the night, even when he slept, even in the dream, he was thinking about this boy. The next morning, his reveries again pursued the old man. The machines were clattering, the labor was monotonous and automatic. The hands were busy at their accustomed task. The toothless mouth was smiling at a diverting fancy. The air was thick with dust, and under high ceiling step after step, with hissing sound, glided quickly from wheel to wheel. endless in number. The far corners were visible in a dense escaping vapors. Men emerged here and there like phantoms, and the human voice was not heard for the incessant din of the machines. Now, the next morning, his reveries means a dream. The dream, again, the dream here is of the child playing, that kept on coming to his mind even the next day. And he was working in a factory. So you know how the factories are right now, especially this story was taking place in the 19th century, and the machines that were used during this time, because industrial revolution had just come to Russia back during the late 19th century, and the machinery at that time was very huge, and they created a lot of noise. And the machines were cluttering, means they were making a lot of noise. And the labor the labor that he was doing, the work that he was doing was monotonous, because remember, the old man he had been working in this factory from his childhood, and he has grown old in this factory. So the work which he does is nothing new, and it is the same work he is doing, so it has become monotonous. And he calls it monotonous and automatic. And his hands know what to do, they are accustomed to the work they are doing. And but among when he is among such disturbance, there is a lot of noise, he is working. But in middle of this also, he is still remembering his dream. His fancy is uh, the picture of the boy. The air was thick, there was then in the this whole paragraph gives the picture of the factory in which he worked. There is dust, there is there is sound, there are wheels, there is a lot of noise that is going on. Men are coming and going like phantoms. Phantoms means ghost. And you cannot there are people actually talking, there are human voices. uh, but those voices were not audible, because there was constant incent, means continuous, there is continuous din, means noise of the machines, because you cannot hear the voices of the human beings properly. So this paragraph gives the picture of the factory in which the old man worked. The old man's fancy was at work. He had become a little boy for the moment. His mother was a gentlewoman, and he had his hoop and his little stick. He was playing, driving the hoop with little stick. He wore white costume. His little legs were plump, bare at the knee. The days passed. The work went on. The fancy persisted. Now, when the old man was busy with his work in the factory, he started thinking, uh, what we call as wishful thinking. Now, the old man had a childhood where he was not raised by his mother. He did not had hope to play with. He did not, in fact, he did not have any toys to play with. So he has missed his childhood. His childhood is a unfulfilled wish. Now, as we had discussed in the brainstorming question, now he is using dream, or he is using fancy to fulfill his unfulfilled wish. Now, when he saw the picture, when he came across the mother, young mother, and the child playing, and the kind of relationship with the mother and the child had. The mother was not beating or scolding. They had a very warm and comfortable relation. Now, that is the kind of relationship with his mother, and the things the child has got to play. That is the thing which the old man is longing for. Now, old man cannot become a child, but that he cannot become in reality. But in dreams, in his fantasy, he can become. Now, that is the reason he is imagining himself as a little boy, and he is thinking about his women, his mother, and his mother in his dream, in his fantasy, is a gentlewoman, and he has got a hoop, he has got a little stick, and he is playing, and he is using that little stick, and he is playing around. He is driving the hoop, and he is playing, and he is wearing the white costumes. Even his legs are plump. Even the he can see the knees. Um, Days passed, the work at the factory also went, and even the fantasy also um, kept on going along with the each passing day, and as the work was going, as was the work was progressing in the factory. Now let's read the fourth part. The old man was returning from work one evening when he saw the hoop of an old barrel lying in the street. It was a rough, dirty object. The old man trembled with happiness, and tears appeared in his dull eyes. A sudden, almost irresistible desire took possession of him. So, one day, the old man was returning from the factory. What he came across was a hoop, a ring of metal, and this was very dirty, very rough. But the moment he sees the hoop, he becomes very emotional. He starts trembling with happiness and tears. And when he sees it, immediately he wants to go and grab it, and he wants to have it. So this sudden desire comes to him, and this desire is irresistible. He just wants to go and take this. He glanced cautiously around him. Then he bent down, picked up the hoop with trembling hands, and smiling shamefacedly, carried it home with him. Now this is an old man. Now you don't expect old man, picking the hoop. If the child does it, then it is normal, but this is not normal for an old man. So he is very cautious. He looks around, make sure nobody is watching him. He bends down, he picks the hoop. When he was picking the hoop, his hands were trembling. He was smiling, but there was a shame. There was a hint of shame in it. And then he carries it along with him and takes it to his home. No one noticed him, no one questioned him. Whose concern was it? A ragged man was carrying an old, battered, useless hoop. Who cared? He carried it stealthily, afraid of ridicule. Why he picked it up and why he carried, he himself could not tell. Still, it was like the boy's hoop. This was enough. There was no harm in it lying about. Now he is very conscious about taking this hoop, carrying this hoop along, carrying this hoop to his home. But nobody noticed him. Nobody questioned him. And why would they? He was not stealing something which was very precious. He was just taking. He was just picking up an a dirty. It was a very dirty hoop. But for the old man, it mattered a lot to the old man. The emotional, the reason behind it, it will not be understood by others. That is not a precious object at all, and nobody, even if somebody had seen him picking the hoop, who would have cared it? Nobody, because it is useless. It so nobody would ask him any questions. But the old man is afraid that what if somebody starts making jokes about him? If what if somebody starts laughing at him, laughing at the old man for carrying the hope? He also did not he did not exactly knew why he was picking this up, why he was carrying the hope. Even he could not answer. For him, why for him the only thing that he was happy is that this hope was similar to the hope of the boy. That was enough. And obviously there was he was very happy that it looked like the hope of the boy. He could look at it, he could touch it, It would stimulate his reveries. The whistle and the turmoil of the factory would grow fainter, and the escaping vapors less dense. For several days, the hoop lay under the bed in the old man's poor, cramped quarters. Sometimes he would take it from its place and look at it. The dirty, grey hoop soothed the old man, and the sight of it quickened his persistent thoughts about the happy little boy. Uh, Now he took the hoop. When he took the hoop with him to his home, he started looking at. He started touching it, and the moment he touched it, it only stimulated his fancy. Um, there was factory voice that was coming in the far in the distance. He could listen to the whistle and the noise generated by the factory. For several days, the hoop actually was under the bed of old man in his obviously the old man was not poor. The house in which he lived was very small. It was a poor man. It was very it uh, obviously it was very small. um, but sometimes he's used to look at this hoop. He used to think about happy little boy, because why he is doing this, he is not able to answer why he's doing this. But the reason why he is doing is because there is an unfulfilled wish. He has not lived his normal childhood, so he wants to live that life. That is his desire. That is his unfulfilled desire. But he is old now, but there is a child in him. We might all grow up, but there will always be a child in us. But we should be very careful. We should be it is okay to be it is okay to have a child within us. If somebody is childlike, it is very good, but we should not be childish. So here, there is a child within the old man, and that child has not lived the childhood, normal childhood. That that unfulfilled desire is something which is haunting him. It was a clear, warm morning, and the birds were chirping away in the consumptive urban trees somewhat more cheerfully than usual. The old man rose early, took his hoop, walked a little distance out of the town. Now, in the next part of the story, it's a morning. The morning is very warm, it's clear, the birds are chirping, and the old man actually gets up early in the morning. He takes his hoop and he walks out of the town. He coughed as he made his way among the old trees and thorny bushes in the woods. The trees, covered with their dry, blackish, bursting bark, seemed to him incomprehensibly and sternly silent. The odors were strange, the insects astonishing, the ferns of gigantic growth. There was neither dust nor din here, and the gentle, exquisite morning mist lay behind the trees. The old feet glided over the dry leaves and stumbled across the gnarled roots. So the old man gets up early in the morning and he takes the hoop and he walks out of the town. So in this paragraph, we get the description of the bushes and trees. He is trying to walk away from the town so that nobody watches him. So he comes across a lot of trees. There are there is very much silence there. There is strange kind of smell is there. There are many insects, but there is no dust. There is no noise. Now this dust and noise is created by the factory. So he's walking away from it, and he crosses dry leaves, and and finally he stumbles across the gnarled roots. The old man broke off a dry limb and hung his hoop upon it. He came upon an opening full of daylight and of calm. The dewdrops, countless and opalescent, gleamed upon uh, green barred green blades of newly um, mown grass. So what does the old man finally, when he comes across this gnarled roots, means a um, bent and twisted roots. He breaks a he breaks a dry limb, and he uh, hangs his hoop. And then um, he had started walking in the early morning. Now the day was there. It was very calm. There were dew drops, um, and the dewdrops were shining, on the green leaves. Suddenly, the old man let the hoop slide off the stick. He stuck with the stick and sent the hoop rolling across the lawn. The man laughed, brightened at once, pursued the hoop like the little boy. He kicked up his feet and drove with the hoop with his stick. He flourished high over his head, just as the little boy did. So suddenly, when see, now he has walked out of the town. He's sitting there. He's sitting in the woods. There is nobody there, and suddenly the old man had hung the hoop on a stick. Now he slides the hoop off the stick, and he rolls across the green lawn. And the old man starts laughing, and then when the hoop was rolling, he starts running. He starts running behind the hoop. He takes the stick. He kicks his feet. And he starts playing. With the stick. He starts playing with the hoop, with the stick, which he flourished high over his head, just as the little boy. So, just as the little boy had played with the hoop, the old man now starts playing it. Now, by playing with the hoop, he is reliving his childhood. It seemed to him that he was small, beloved, and happy. It seemed to him that he was being looked after his mother, who was following close behind and smiling. Like a child on his first outing, he felt refreshed on the bright grass and on the still mosses. Now we see here where the old man has become a child. He has become small, he has become happy. He feels as if his mother is walking behind him and smiling at him. And he feels as if like a child who has come outside for the first time, and he is experiencing all the happiness. His goat-like dusty gray beard that harmonized with his sallow face trembled, while his cough mingled with his laughter, and raucous sounds came from his toothless mouth. Now he has a goat-like beard, and um, his that actually matched well with his sallow face. Means his face had become slightly yellow, because he is not a he is not healthy. When a person is not healthy, he turns to yellow, means he looks bit yellow. So the old man is not very healthy. He has a goat like a beard, and whenever he is laughing, that is when he laughs, he also cough. So both the laugh and the cough are mingled, and a strange kind of sounds come out of his mind. Sorry, so from his toothless mouth. And the old man grew to. Now we have come to the next part of the story. And the old man grew to love his morning hour in the woods with the hope. He sometimes thought he might be discovered and ridiculed, and this aroused him to a keen sense of shame. This shame resembled fear. He would grow numb, his knees would give way under him, he would look around him with fright and timidity. So the old man, started going to the woods in the morning, and he used to play in the morning hour. But he also had few doubts. He thought, what if somebody discovered? What if they start making jokes about him? If they start laughing at him. When he thought about these things, he used to overcome with sense of shame. This sense, also created a fear in his mind. When the fear was created, he grew numb. Numb means he could not experience anything. Um, um, he would sit on his knees and he would become afraid. He would become timid. But no, there was no one to be seen or to be heard. And having diverted himself to his heart's content, he would return to city, smiling gently and joyously. But there was no one to see him or to hear him. So finally, after playing to his heart's content, he used to return to city, smiling gently and very, very gently, very happily. He used to smile, and he used to go back to the city. Now let's come. We have come to the last part of the story. No one had ever found him out, and nothing unusual ever happened. The old man played peacefully for several days, and one very dewy morning he caught cold. He went to bed and soon died. Dying in the factory hospital among strangers, indifferent people, he smiled sternly. His memories soothed him. He too had been a child. He too laughed and scampered across the green grass among the dark trees. His beloved mother had followed him with her eyes. So nobody found him playing in the woods, and nothing unusual actually never happened. The old man for several days, he played peacefully, but as we have already seen, his face had turned yellow, which clearly showed that he was not very healthy, because he was playing, in the morning when it used to be very cold. So he caught cold one morning, and then he went to bed and he died. And he died in the factory hospital where there were strangers. He had nobody who he could call um, his friends or family. There was nobody. All the people were indifferent. They just thought the old man was dying, and there was nothing. But the old man was very happy. He was smiling. Now, even when he was dying, he was happy. Why was he happy? He was happy because his child, though he was an old man, he was still reliving, not he was not reliving, he was living his childhood uh, according to his wish. He has already lived his childhood, but in that childhood, his childhood was very rough. It was filled with poverty. People bet him. He did not have any toys to play with. But in his fantasy, uh, now he's the childhood which he has is a bit of fantasy and reality. He has played to his heart content with his hope, but the mother part is fantasy. His memories, actually, even in his pain, even in his last days, his memories soothed him. They were like, they it he it the memories made him forget about the pain he was going through as an old man. He had been a child. Now he was laughing and uh, scampered across the green grass. Scampered means to move quickly with short little steps, as the children do, small young children do. And he was thinking as if he was walking on the green grass, like how the small children do. And his mother was following him with her eyes on this child. Now, this is how he dies, thinking of something which really had not happened. But in his dream, he has fulfilled his wish. Now, this all, in this story, this is how the story ends. This is a very, uh, this story is a very um, heart touching, because here is a person who has not lived a normal childhood, who had a very rough childhood, but he has unfulfilled wish like all of us do. But with the help of dreams, with in his fantasy, he is able to fulfill his wish, and he dies peacefully. Now, this is the end of the story. Thank you.